Hello, super fans, and welcome to Alberta News and Views. The chaos continues in Canada with our over-the-top trade war. Just secure the border. Maybe do the bare minimum of what Donald Trump wants, and then we won't be in this full-blown, crazy, unimaginable trade war. Donald Trump talked with Justin Trudeau this morning on the phone. And it sounds like Donald Trump wants American banks in Canada, something. And they're going to talk again at around 3 o'clock today, and we will see what comes out of that. There's lots going on. So I'm just going to try and get through the little bit I have this morning. Okay. So Ontario Premier Doug Ford's office says the province is ripping up the $100 million contract they just signed with Starlink, and U.S. companies are now banned from doing business with the Ontario government, on top of removing the booze and stuff like that across Canada from liquor store shelves. It is insane what Canada is doing. They're so tone deaf. Canada wants this trade war for political gain. They don't care about the Canadian people. They really don't. We would have government right now. We would have an election right now at a federal level. Justin Trudeau would be gone right now if they actually cared about Canadians. This is all political. This is all for show and gain. Quote, starting today and until United States tariffs are removed, Ontario is banning American companies from provincial contracts. Every year, the Ontario government and its agencies spend $30 billion on procurement alongside our $200 billion plan to build Ontario. U.S.-based businesses will now lose out on tens of billions of dollars in new revenues. They only have President Trump to blame. We are going one step further. We'll be ripping up the province's contract with Starlink. Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying our economy. Canada didn't start this fight with the United States, but you better believe we are ready to win it. Now, what happens if Google pulls out of Canada? What happens if Spotify pulls out of Canada? What happens if Elon Musk pulls Starlink out of Canada? What if he shuts down X? All these politicians can't communicate now. You see what Canada is doing. And they are not talking. They are not taking a diplomatic approach. These people are diplomats. They're literally paid to represent the people and talk. They're not paid to punish. Now listen to what Doug Ford has to say. And this is very important for what I'm going to show you after. Listen to this.
Decide if they're going to buy American goods or Canadian goods. We can make anything here in Canada, and if we don't make it, we will make it, because the ingenuity and the technology is second to none in the world. We will build anything here in Canada. So to the retailers, we need to start marking, number one, the packaging, but number two, on the shelves until Canadians, Ontarians have a choice. And that should be not just in Ontario, right across the country.
Building here and purchasing here sounds a lot like what Donald Trump is saying about the U.S. How much more is it going to cost this province and the government here to have to keep everything and buy everything from this country?
Well, we do $500 billion of two-way trade. Ontario, the third largest trading partner in the world to the United States. We can be more competitive. We start building here and people are buying from here, there is no tariff. So it's pretty common sense. It's like business, 1, 2, 3. Like this is common sense, folks. You buy and manufacture here, there are no tariffs. We can compete against anyone in the entire world. We have the greatest, the smartest people anywhere in the world, no matter if it's the technology or if it's the EV sector or the life science sector or the manufacturing sector. Just think, last year alone, because of these businesses out there, They created over 200,000 jobs last year alone. Since we've been in office, there's 850,000 more people working today than there was 7 years ago. Let's go back 7 years ago when the Liberals, propped up by the NDP, chased 300,000 jobs out of this province. Now we're back. We're back, and we're going to continue growing nonstop. We are an economic powerhouse. Keep in mind, yes, the U.S. is our number one trading partner, but we have partnerships, tariff-free shipments to 51 other countries. We need to expand our scope. We need to start shipping stuff around the world to the 51 countries that we have a tariff-free agreement with. That's powerful, and we're going to use every tool we can. We need to start building pipelines, energy east, out west, up north, to get our oil out around the world, and so we aren't reliant on the U.S. That's what we need to do. We need to broaden our base, and we're going to focus on doing that.
You know, I've been listening to this rhetoric, this political talk for over 20 years now. There is no interprovincial trade in Canada. It's easier to trade with Europe than it is within Canada. Canada is divisive by design. It's Canada's productivity is an absolute free fall. If we even thought about building pipelines, it would take at least 10 years. They just dished out another $20 billion bailout for Trans Mountain because of that disaster. Yeah, we could build stuff, but we can't because of all of the policy, the ridiculous policy, and that's why investment is fleeing. And I'm going to show you this right here. This is a report from KPMG. Now, this report come out to justify the dollar per dollar tariffs. This is where all of this is coming from, is from this report right here. Now, this is crazy that they left out a part that politicians aren't telling you about. So they keep on saying business leaders want this. They want the tariff for tariff nonsense, right? So watch this. So business leaders want Canada to fight U.S. tariffs with tariffs. 8 in 10 are bracing for a recession, but are prepared to endure short-term pain to negotiate a fair deal that protects Canadian interests. They want to negotiate, okay? They want to make Canada a lot more friendlier for Canadian businesses. That's the outcome that they want. With a potential trade war looming between the U.S. and Canada, 9 in 10 Canadian business leaders wholeheartedly believe that the federal and provincial governments must stand firm in protecting Canada's sovereignty and values, and that includes fighting tariffs with tariffs, even if it hurts their business, finds a new survey by KPMG in Canada. Over 8 in 10 want a targeted dollar for dollar retaliatory response, okay? Now, with more than, so it goes, the key poll findings is where it gets really interesting. And it's the parts where it's right here. 56% of business say they will have to lay off employees if tariffs are implemented. So you can guarantee, you pretty much guarantee, and get ready for a 56% employee layoff. All right? If this keeps on escalating the way it is, which is exactly what Doug Ford did today. 48% of business plans to shift investments or production to the United States to serve the U.S. market and reduce costs. It is way too expensive to do business in Canada. Our dollar right now is tanking, and with the tariffs, it is going to cost a lot more. With wages, the red tape, the ridiculousness of doing business in Canada, it sucks compared to the United States. There is a sucking noise coming from America, and it is vacuuming up all of the skills, all of the trades, all the people, all small business. And that is the point of all of this. Everybody has a vested interest in this. To get perspective of how the world is looking at Canada is hilarious. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, I hope I'm saying that right, Folds, says she agreed to send 10,000 troops to the United States border after a good call with President Trump. Like I said, Mexico's talking with Trump, and same with Justin Trudeau, but there is a big, big difference. So she said that she's going to send 10,000 troops. This is remarkable. Sheinbaum released the following post on X She says, quote, "We had a good conversation with President Trump with great respect for our relationship and sovereignty. We reached a series of agreements. Number one, Mexico will immediately reinforce the northern border with 10,000 members of the National Guard to prevent drug trafficking from Mexico to the United States, particularly fentanyl." This is all Canada had to do. "The United States is committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico." Oh, a tit for tat. Look at that. Look at how diplomacy works. "Our teams will begin working today on two fronts, security and trade." Crazy that Doug Ford is doing what he is doing. They are pausing tariffs for 1 month now. Just like that, Mexico is tariff-free for another month, probably to prove that they mean what they say. Unlike our Trudeau government, who he is all talk. Just all talk, and nothing ever comes of it. They are pausing tariffs for 1 month now. The development comes hours after Donald Trump told reporters what he needed to see to lift tariffs on Mexico. Literally, all they have to do is just listen to Donald Trump in Canada. Listen to this.
President, what does Canada and Mexico need to do for you to lift the tariffs? What are specifically you want? That have to balance out their trade, number one. That we've got to stop people from pouring into our country, and we've stopped it. They haven't stopped it. We've stopped it. They have to stop people from pouring in, and we have to stop fentanyl, and that includes China. Fentanyl has killed this year at least 200,000 people. It's pouring in from China through Mexico and Canada, and they've got to stop it. And if they don't stop it, the tariffs are going to get worse, a lot worse.
It's hilarious to me that people are always like, oh, but Canada's border to the U.S., they barely collect any fentanyl. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's true. Barely any that they catch at the border. But there is the trucking companies and the port that is owned and run. There is the port in Vancouver that is run by and infiltrated by China. Look at this. This is crazy. So this is from January 24th, 2019. Mexico sends 15,000 troops to border in unusual move to ward off U.S. trade tariffs. Former Mexican national security official calls the deployment sad. And now we have Mexico says it's sending 10,000 troops to the U.S. border to help stop drug trafficking, and Trump has agreed to pause tariffs on Mexico. We are living in a matrix. We really are. So there are a lot of things attached to these tariffs. And Canada is not a serious country. It has systemic corruption that the only way to get rid of it is with Western independence. We need independence. It is the only way. Provinces need to take back control. The federal government is just utterly destroyed. An estimated $113 billion gets laundered in and through Canada annually. This is well known. Donald Trump knows this. If Justin Trudeau and his government, if they want to play hardball, Donald Trump can build a report and a serious case to designate Canada as a national security threat because of all of the riffraff and corruption that is happening in Canada. They know about our ports. They know that China is cooking fentanyl at the ports and in the oceans and bringing it in and distributing it. Why isn't Justin Trudeau talking about that specifically? There could be kickbacks. The corruption runs very, very, very deep. Long ignored criminal infiltration of Canadian ports leads straight to Trump tariffs. He knows about this. This is a report by Sam Cooper. He's an investigative journalist. You can read this on Substack. Go to the Bureau if you want full details of it. The important part is that the Trump administration knows what Canada is up to and what it is doing. It is ridiculous to think that you can pull liquor from shelves and think that that's going to stop them from tariffs. It is much, much, much deeper than that. Last but not least, Ruby Dalla Ruby Dalla is running to be Canada's next prime minister and leader of the Liberal Party. I am not promoting her, but I like her posts because they make sense. Ruby Dalla says, in what official capacity is Mark Carney in contact with Canadian government ministers, Melanie Joly, Dominic Blanc, Mark Miller, blah, 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 and what classified information is being shared with him? Does Carney have a cabinet position we do not know about? Mark Carney says, the tariffs imposed by the United States today are a clear violation of our trade agreements and require the most serious trade and economic responses in our history. See my statement below. Mark Carney says that he's been talking with ministers. I am in regular contact with Foreign Minister Melanie Joly. He is an unelected official. What gives him the right to talk with all of these ministers? He's already acting like he is the next unelected Prime Minister of Canada. It is utterly ridiculous that Canadians are put in this position, that their livelihoods are at stake, their quality of life is at stake. They're forced to endure this. We have no say on what is going on in our country right now. Literally, we have a lame duck prime minister that resigned. We are all being held hostage because the Liberal Party has collapsed. Nothing is getting done and nothing can get done. And I still don't know how Justin Trudeau is able to implement and even talk about implementing tariffs on the United States when, how is he the prime minister? He resigned. How? When Parliament isn't even in session, there's no committees, there's nothing. So all roads lead to Western independence, because by now you should be tired of having to deal with this unseriousness, this ridiculousness of the embodiment of this country. It is ridiculous and it's embarrassing. All roads lead to Western independence, provincial independence, or a 51st state scenario. Something. It's time. I will keep you updated with as much as I can when I can. All of you out there, like, share, and take care, and follow me on Substack, Spotify, and YouTube.